Renihan, Education Segment Development Manager for Access Communications. With me today are Chris Wildfoerster, Program Manager for Audio for Access Communications, and Dave Martin, Security Specialist for Binghamton University. And Dave and Chris, thank you guys so much for joining me today so we can talk a little bit about how Binghamton is making use of audio to enhance school safety for the students of Binghamton University. So Dave, I have a couple of questions for you, and I think then Chris may follow up with some questions as well. First, what were some of the key drivers that led you to choose Access for network audio?
Sure, we had several actual factors that came into play. One is that our primary means of mass notification is a large array on top of our library tower, central on campus, and it's very loud. It reaches quite a distance. I can hear it from my house a mile and a half away. However, people in basements and ground level areas of facilities and labs couldn't quite decipher what was being said, what was going on and what to do next during tests, really. We haven't had any live incidents of using mass notification yet, thankfully. But so we wanted to standardize on a speaker, or an audio solution, network audio solution, internal to our facilities. And we had already standardized on Access cameras and started doing some R&D on the Access speakers and technologies and intercoms. And now we have over 300 speakers, which are all installed via capital projects and renovations over the last 6 years. So we still have to reach the rest of our campus internally. I mean, you'd be in a basement and the voice would sound like Charlie Brown's teacher a little bit, if you know what I mean. It was not coherent. So from a life safety perspective, that's a risk, right? We need to notify people properly of what's going on and what procedures to follow to keep them safe. Another factor is that there are some operational benefits that we can derive from network audio, right? Simple announcements that services are closing or facilities are closing. Our library, our third floor library, at Bartle Library, was just renovated, and they use it 4 times a day. We gave them one of the 2N IP mics, I think it was, to coordinate, messages to that large area to get people out of there in time before they close. So there's some benefits to that. Those are probably the 2 primary drivers behind it. But the critical incident response side of it is really the crucial one. Reaching people selectively is also the key. Also, we wanted the zone. We wanted to have target populations reached and not really interrupt or disrupt the flow of the rest of the campus. So we wanted to be able to segment by facility or zones, or even more granular than that in the future. So those are the factors.
So you talked a lot about the way you're using the network audio for life safety features, but how has the audio being networked made an improvement to campus life overall for students?
We're still implementing that side of things, and I think a big crucial part of that is educating the end users, the campus community, like building administrators and places that have these internal speakers. We use a lot of the C1410s, I believe it is, and the Cabinet 1004 speakers internally. We use the Siren speaker, the D4100s also for mass notification. Education that they can use them in an operational fashion, and also education that they're there for their safety, really. Like, we're situationally making them aware of what's going on. That's very precious, I think, to me. I would love to know what's going on in a critical incident, and audio solves that for us. So education is really something we need to work harder on here at Binghamton in terms of letting our students know that that's there, really, and it serves as a peace of mind. It helps them thrive in this environment more.
Okay, and you made some reference to this, but if you want to elaborate, can you describe the primary ways that Binghamton currently uses Access Network Audio? Is there
Yeah,
anything
we
else?
have a Alertis integration into our Genetech platform right now. So we are a Genetech shop. We have a unified system here, security center. We use it for our access control, our cameras, and our Sepelia interface as well, integration. So that communications management system really allows us to ingrain the audio portion of our life safety endeavor into the ecosystem of Genetech, those aforementioned technologies, and use them all in a unified manner. So we use, like I said, we use Sepelia, but we deployed help points all over campus, or blue lights as they are traditionally called. We call them help points because we use your IP safety devices, which also have, in addition to an SOS button, an info button. And you can also, as you know, integrate cameras into them and use them as a mass notification device. So they all of a sudden have become more useful than the traditional push a button and talk to somebody with a blue light, right? So we use those. We use 2N intercoms, both the IP solos and the Verso 2.0s in various locations. I think we have about 90 of them out there between the help points and the intercoms. So we use those, both the Verso, both with the integrated camera and or door reader based on what's there currently. That's sometimes why we use the IP solo, because they may already have those two aforementioned technologies there. And then lastly, we have emergency stations, which we're putting 72 of them out into the campus. Eventually, that's a concept devised by our Office of Emergency Management, Dave Hubany and Kate Kavanaugh. They have a D4100 siren for mass notification. They also have a IP Verso 2.0 with an integrated camera that is kind of a one-stop, I don't want to say shop because it's a critical incident-based endeavor. So it's a one-stop solution, I guess, for critical incidents. It also has an AED cabinet, which includes the AED is tracked by cell and Wi-Fi. It also has a stop the bleed and Narcan kit within it. But once you open up that cabinet, it automatically activates that intercom, makes a call to our university police, and they can communicate, like, where are you going with the AED? What room? And then we can then send our first responders accurately and efficiently, improving that emergency response. So that's kind of a nice idea they came up with, and we're pleased to be partnering with them to install, maintain, and support the devices within those.
And I think you mentioned earlier when we were talking that if somebody does either push the panic button or open that AED cabinet, that cameras around that are integrated into that, they get triggered to begin recording. So your responders are getting real-time information.
That's the beauty of the Genetech platform and the access communications technology. They work so beautifully together. The integration is very advanced. The Sepelia is, the communications management is ingrained, like I said, into our unified platform. So all those technologies work in unison and give us, our first responders and our operators, the situational insight they need to deploy the correct resources to save lives, prevent injury, protect assets, et cetera, right? So that's the logic behind that.
Thank you. I really appreciate all of the information. I was just going to offer Chris the opportunity to jump in with some questions. I'm sure he's got some.
Yeah, thanks, Jill. So you've got all these devices on campus, and they're all different disparate devices. Now, we talked about Genetech Sepelia, which is a fantastic VMS, a fantastic platform. What about from a mass notification or mass communications perspective? What are you using to tie all that together?
Well, Security Center is the enterprise level system that governs all our ALPR, our access control, and our VMS. And Sepelia is the communications management system within that. It's like your Audio Manager Pro, like the version, like I believe those are they similar in intent? They kind of control the communications devices and ingrain them into your other devices. So that's kind of how we manage it through Genetech as a whole. And we have that one unified pane of glass that we, respond to. We don't have disparate systems, different screens. We have one unified interface to, save time, make it more efficient. So
Does Alertis play into this? Does Alertis interface with Sepelia, and how does that work?
It does. We have an Alertis plugin and some licensing in our Genetech platform. Right now, well, two different versions of Alertus we use. We have the kind of panic buttons down at the university police that they can hit, and it'll deploy a mass notification campus wide, which is a necessity but basic. You don't get very granular with it. So we have that. There's buttons that are pre-programmed with canned messages for different things. Nature-based or active shooter or whatever it might be. But we also have an Alertus panic button integration as well. So there's two different versions of that.
Okay.
But the Sipilia allows us to get more granular with and more segmented and achieve our communications to direct populations in buildings or levels of buildings potentially. So that's in our vision. We have everything set up with leaders and follower speakers in all our facilities that have speakers already. We just need to dynamically create those, dynamically include those audio solutions into our SOPs in something called mission control in Genetec. Mission control is kind of a decision-making critical incident workflow that helps our operators navigate through a critical incident. And everything works together beautifully with Axis and Genetec in that manner.
Okay, great. Fantastic. So, you've got all these different devices. I'm going back to the overall device question, right?
Yeah.
You've got all this stuff going on. How do you manage all this?
Great question. Well, we have a team of 8 here in this group, Security Infrastructure and Support in ITS. It's in the Division of Operations. So we have various technicians internally that do install, maintenance, and support of those devices. And then for large scale installations, and sometimes maintenance, planned maintenance, we consult with a valued integrator like IK Systems, for example, out of Victor, New York. We use them for quite a bit for access control, CCTV, you name it. But it's kind of a hybrid approach. We're also looking at, possibly implementing a lifecycle replacement program for our network audio, which is important because things age and you want to have a depreciation schedule in place. We have such a thing for our Axis cameras. So why not have something for our speakers and our other devices as well? So it's a collaborative effort amongst everyone in our group. We have 2 analysts. We have a physical security specialist, a coordinator, and 3 techs. So it's about time we upgrade our technician count a couple more because our device count keeps increasing. And the complexity of how we use those too.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I was just going to say, your device count increases, and also the intelligence of those devices and their capabilities are going to increase as time goes on as well.
Yeah, and that requires specialty, and we like to keep that internal here. I mean, that doesn't mean we don't consult with our integrator or Genetec or Axis. We do that quite a bit. But, like we're using object analytics on our cameras to count people anonymously for business intelligence. So we can derive, metrics of, how many people are in an area with a timestamp so we can adjust our resources appropriately. Another example of using analytics, this unified approach in Genetec is we could have a people counter, a crowd detection for a protest. We may want to, notify a building via mass notification, a particular building, that there's a protest assembling outside, something like that. That's the standard operating procedures that we dynamically have to integrate our technology into. And we will do so with mission control one day, I hope, in Genetec. So it makes things so much more efficient and, keeps people safe. All while, privacy is a big concern for us, especially on the camera and door access side. The nice thing about network audio is that we're not intruding on people's privacy. We're making them situationally aware of what's going on, so it's a nice add-on.
Yep. So, you obviously have a comprehensive system put together, and you've gone through all the trials and tribulations of putting this system together to get it up and running. What kind of advice would you give to other educational institutions that are considering these type of solutions, and kind of what are the steps you would suggest to them?
Make sure you include stakeholders in your efforts to integrate mass communications into your org or campus. It was very integral that we collaborate with the Office of Emergency Management, the New York State University Police, and leadership. Really, the people that are signing the, creating, blessing you with the funding for such things. This kind of investment in technology requires resources in the form of people, in the form of financial resources. And you also need, I believe, especially in this institution, you need controls and such as procedures and policies surrounding the implementation of the technology. And again, I don't want to repeat myself, but the privacy part of this is very important to us. So we have to make sure that we honor that here on campus. I think also an institution should probably think outside the box with their life safety technology solutions. You can definitely do that with access technologies, whether it's with mass audio solutions or cameras and analytics, access control, et cetera. Make your audio solution a part of a greater effort to unify it with other life safety technologies. Don't just use it in a singular fashion. You can do that, there's value to that, but try to integrate it and unify it with your other technologies so you can become more efficient with your emergency response. Try to implement them into your SOPs for critical incidents. That's another thing that takes collaboration with your police and your emergency management people. So you want to implement this technology before, during, and after critical incidents. Also, you're not just thinking about after or during an incident; it's before as well. So those are some suggestions I would have that we've learned are important here at Binghamton.
And then you also want to constantly monitor, right, and make it better as the system evolves and grows the different technologies.
Absolutely, and you want to stay cognizant of what's new and how that can apply to your particular org or your vertical, wherever you're in, healthcare, K through 12, whatever it might be, and just be aware of the different the political climate of your campus. Also is important. How well the campus absorbs these types of technologies is important as well. And I think education is very important as well. So
are there any kind of future enhancements or future applications for audio that you're thinking about, or what would Binghamton like to see or have Access explore?
We want more granularity or specific targeting of locations of our various campuses for network audio and Genetech. And I mentioned we want it built dynamically into our SOPs through mission control. That's something we haven't achieved yet, but it's logically in the future by the way we're progressing. We progress slow here or fast, depends on what happens worldwide or on campus. It depends on leadership. It depends on a lot of things. How much R&D we can do here, and how much resources we have. We can contribute to that process. We want to use network audio for more operational efficiencies. That requires education of the users of the audio system. There's a whole slew of applications and efficiencies that can result from this, and I think that has value. These speakers and audio devices are on our walls, waiting to be used for hopefully a critical incident that never happens. But why can't we use those for something else like an operational efficiency? Yep. So those are, and lastly, we want to make sure, I mentioned this before, that our campus has 100% coverage internally with our audio technology. Right now, it's only been in capital projects and renovations for the last 6 years. So,
right.
Yeah.
So, I got a bonus question.
Okay.
Bonus question for you, for 10 points. Do you guys use voice lift in your classrooms?
Voice lift? I'm not getting 10 points.
The teacher has a microphone and they talk into the microphone and it goes over the speakers in that classroom so people in the back of the classroom can hear clearly. Do you use that at all?
I don't know. I don't think so. I haven't heard of that innovation. I know they use like a Google Glasses type of interface. So when they're doing like a lab or something hands-on, they can project it on a screen, but I don't think they're using that what you're talking about. That's something that interests me, though. I think
Okay.
academia would love that. I mean, we have some pretty large lecture halls that would benefit from that.
Well, I'm thinking the lecture halls would probably have it. We're kind of just having a conversation here. I don't know if this will be part of the podcast, but yeah, I'm sure the lecturers would have a podium with a microphone, right? They'd have that.
Yeah. I imagine they have that. Yeah.
Yeah. In a classroom, if you've got a teacher talking, they can use like a Bluetooth microphone, and then have the speakers in the back of the classroom, amplify their voice so people in the back can hear. You don't need it in the front, right? Because they'll be able to hear the natural voice, but you can amplify it in the rear. I was just asking that question.
I'll take some info on that later.
Willingness gets you points too, Dave.
Yeah,
Just
all right.
willingness to consider it, right? Gets you some points as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's time and attention. Chris, thank you as always for being part of the team. Dave, thanks for sharing your expertise and experience with us from Binghamton University. If you'd like more information, don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us.
Thank you.